Yo, welcome to Giddy Buzz. You know how we does, bringing you the best content in Nigerian and African entertainment. Please do not forget to subscribe, like, share, and comment on the video, and also follow us on Instagram at Giddy Buzz. We are talking today about the 15 things you probably didn't know about Fela. Fela is the originator of Afrobeat. He was also known as Abamieda, which means the weird one, and his music is simply timeless, with songs such as Suffering and Smiling and Sorrow, Tears and Blood, which is still relevant to this very day in terms of corruption and bad governance in Nigeria. And his music is very proverbial, with songs such as Water No Get Enemy. Number 1. Afrobeat is a fusion of genres. Afrobeat is a blend of jazz, salsa, highlife, funk, calypso, infused with African traditional music and beats. This has inspired current artists today, such as his son Fela Kuti, Wizkid, Burna Boy, whose grandfather was actually Fela's manager, Tiwa Savage, D'banj, and the legend 2Face. Number 2. Fela is a cousin to Wole Soyinka. Yes, Fela is a cousin to Wole, who's arguably one of the greatest products to come straight out of Nigeria. Wole is a playwright and a poet, and he was awarded the 1986 Nobel Prize in Literature, and he was actually the first African to achieve this feat. Greatness runs through this family, yo. Number 3. Fela changed his name. Fela changed his name from Fela Ran For President to Fela Anikulakbo Kuti. Anikulakbo meaning we have control over death. Fela discarded the name Ransom, stating it was a slave name, meaning he wanted to have a very strong African identity and not held ransom to slavery and colonization. Pun intended. And as Bob Marley would say, emancipate yourself from mental slavery. Number 4. Fela was a protégé of Victor Olaiya. Victor Olaiya is the pioneer of highlife music in Nigeria. Victor Olaiya's popular song was Baby Jowo, Baby Jowo, Kumayilo. That was a banger back in the day. Anyways, Fela as a teenager joined Victor Olaiya's band called the Cool Cats in 1957. Fela was obviously so special that Victor Olaiya spotted his great talent. Olaiya also performed in front of the Queen of England in a visit to Nigeria in the 50s, and he also performed in Nigeria's independence ceremony. Olaiya unfortunately died this year, February 2020. May his soul rest in peace. Number 5. Fela swapped medicine for music. In 1958, Fela was meant to study medicine in London, and he swapped it to study music. This was at the Trinity College, London in Greenwich, which is known today as the Trinity Laban. The school has great notable music alumni, and Fela is surely one of the best of them that ever went there. If Fela didn't make a rebel decision, we wouldn't have had the privilege to enjoy his talent. So this is an example to everyone. Follow your dreams at all costs. Number 6. Fela's first band was Koola Lobitos. Yes, Koola Lobitos was formed whilst him being at the Trinity College in London. Koola Lobitos did well in the underground scene in London, and he gained popular recognition for this. Afterwards, he changed the band's name to Africa 70 and then Egypt 80. Number 7. Fela was an OAP. After returning from the UK to Lagos, Fela worked as a trainee radio producer for NBC for a few years, but still had his band Koola Lobitos on the side. He was reportedly sacked eventually, which wouldn't surprise me. What he said was the job was dull and deadening anyway. Fela was way too talented to be stuck in a radio station anyway, so he eventually focused on his music. Number 8. Fela hooked up with Paul McCartney. Paul was part of the most successful boy band in history,
the Beatles,
and he decided to choose Lagos, Nigeria to record a solo album called Band on the Run. This was a challenging move for Paul, as Nigeria, Lagos was way underdeveloped in the 70s, and he was also robbed at knife point. Fela found out Paul was in town, and he then claimed Paul came to steal the black man's music. But Paul made an effort to prove that wasn't the case, and he actually enjoyed a visit to Fela's shrine.
At the time when I was recording Band on the Run, I went down to Lagos to do it. And the first thing that happened to me was I was accused of stealing the black man's music. He's come here to steal the music. So I said, who's doing that? It was in the newspaper. It was Fela, of course. So I got his number, I rang him up and said, hey man, come on. I'm not here to do that. I just love the idea of, I love African music. I just want the kind of atmosphere to, but I'm certainly not stealing any of your music. He came round to the studio, and I played him all my stuff, and he said, oh, nothing like African music. So we became good friends. He invited me out to the African Shrine, which was his club in Lagos, just outside Lagos. And I had this fantastic evening, really quite sort of wild experience.
Number 9. Fela's mom was an activist. Olaiya Kuti was a political campaigner for women's rights activism, and she did a lot in improving the quality of lives of Nigerian women. She was also a huge critic of the Nigerian military government, and she obviously inspired Fela and his siblings to be activists. Olaiya won the Lenin Peace Prize in Russia for her works, and this is an award also won by the late great Kwame Nkrumah, the first president of Ghana. Olaiya was also the first Nigerian woman to drive a car. That was in the 1930s. Sadly, Olaiya died after a raid by Nigerian soldiers in their family home in Lagos, which she was violently thrown outside the window from the second floor. The Nigerian military government denied being responsible for this, and Fela released some tracks afterwards called Unknown Soldiers and Coffin for Head of State. Number 10. Fela was inspired in the USA to become a musical activist. In 1967, after thinking of a new musical direction in Ghana, Fela then formed the genre called Afrobeat. He then went on to the United States in 1969, where he met Sandra Isidore, who he had a relationship with. Sandra was affiliated with the Black Panthers, who were advocates for black human rights against racism in the US. Sandra made Fela more aware of his black consciousness, and he found the US style of racism similar to that of African colonization. Sandra also exposed Fela to the teachings of the late Malcolm X, who was assassinated in 1965. Malcolm was a freedom fighter for blacks against white oppression, so Fela became a huge supporter of Pan-Africanism, which eventually influenced his music to have more meaning. Till this very day, Fela's music is a timeless reflection of what's going on, and we hope other artists in Nigeria and Africa can emulate him to produce more meaningful music. Number 11. Fela had a Guinness World Record. Yes, Fela had a Guinness World Record, and for what? He married 27 women in a single wedding ceremony. This earned him a Guinness Book of World Record. However, he would eventually divorce all of them in the 80s, and he said marriage brings jealousy and selfishness. You would expect that if you marry 27 women. Number 12. Fela ran for president. Yes, the Abamieda himself ran for president twice with his party MOP, Movement of the People. He was successful with this, obviously, and I think it would have been strange having Fela as president of Nigeria. What do you think? He was surely a big dreamer for sure. Number 13. Fela had famous siblings. Fela's brothers were actually well known in Nigeria as well, with Olaiya, his elder brother, being a doctor, was the health minister in Nigeria under the military regime of Babangida. He then went on to become a deputy director general for the WHO. Beko, his younger brother, was also a doctor and an activist who pushed for healthcare reforms in Nigeria. He was also a major campaigner for AIDS awareness. Number 14. Fela on Broadway. This is a theatre version of Fela's life done on Broadway in the USA. This project was actually backed by Will Smith and Jay-Z, and it would eventually get 11 nominations at the Tony Awards and won 3 awards for Best Choreography, Best Costume Design for a Musical, and Best Sound Design of a Musical. Number 15. Large funeral service attendance. It was reported that up to 1 million people attended Fela's funeral service. This just shows Fela was the voice of the people to stand up for what is right, and he is surely missed to this very day. However, his music lives on. We have now come to the end of the video and decided to give you a little thing called extra, called Jara. Fela was given a brand new Mercedes-Benz 280 limo by his record label, which he frequently used to buy charcoal and firewood to cook at his African shrine. Fela's African Shrine was his entertainment hub where he entertained people with his music, and it is also known as the New African Shrine now. This is now managed by his son and daughter Femi and Yeni Kuti. Fela is celebrated there every year in the Celebration Music Festival, which is graced by various music artists, including his other sons and Afrobeat artists. So we have a celebration every year to celebrate the life of the late great Fela and Kuti. I just have a question for all our giddy buzzers. Is Fela the greatest Nigerian ever liveth? Or who do you think is the greatest Nigerian ever liveth? Please leave your likes and comments, and don't forget to subscribe to Giddy Buzz and follow us on Instagram at Giddy Buzz. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video. Peace out!